Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are back once again to bring you a weekly recap of this week's Monday Night Raw, which took place on February 9th in Cleveland, Ohio. A few big items to kick off the show, the first being Corey and Cole announcing that Braun Breaker has sustained an injury training and is out indefinitely. So quite unfortunate news just in general there, but especially with all the big things that seem to be happening with that Adam Pearce division storyline, obviously Braun Breaker and that masked figure. But yeah, here's to a speedy recovery for him, and hopefully nothing too serious in the grand scheme of things. Believe it or not, we also have an AJ Lee sighting backstage as we see the usual talent arrive and kind of to kick off the show. And we then see the man kind of in the background who is less than pleased to see AJ Lee and kind of storms to the ring as the first segment of the evening. She doesn't really have much time to get out anything before AJ Lee herself comes down to the ring, and Becky is in very unique form, perhaps hysteric is a better way to describe that here, desperate to rid AJ Lee from her life, willing to do absolutely anything to do so, which includes offering AJ Lee a title shot at Elimination Chamber. Bit of a strange way to get there, but regardless, I think that was kind of the end game a lot of us were wanting. An odd segment, but the extreme differences in personality I think does work here, and we finally have AJ Lee back, at least for now. So that's kind of the takeaway I'm running away with, and then obviously the IC Championship on the line at Elimination Chamber. I think that will be a fun contest. We then get into our first matchup of the night, which has the Alpha Academy's Otis and Akira Tozawa going up against the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, for those WWE World Tag Team Championship. And Otis and Akira didn't make this easy on the Usos. Otis is over as ever, and honestly one of the best matches I think I've seen from Akira since his 205 Live days. If you recall that version of him, that all he did was shout, but was very good in the ring. This was a lot more fun than I thought it would be, and some respect paid to both Otis and Akira after the match. But the end of this match has Jimmy and Jay hitting Otis with the double spear in a 1D, and still your World Tag Team Champions are the Usos. And a bit of a segment after this, Jimmy basically goes on to encourage Jay to get qualified for the Elimination Chamber and prove to everyone that he's still main event Jey Uso. So bit of an odd bit there, winning your championship match and then kind of continuing his ways of trying to continue to be main event Jey Uso. I feel bad for Jimmy. It feels like he's always playing second fiddle to Jay's storylines, but regardless, this was a pretty fun contest. We then see our 2026 Women's Royal Rumble winner, Liv Morgan, accompanied by the IC champion on the men's side, Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Interesting to note here, no Raquel is seen, although we did see a clip earlier of them playing darts in the back in the clubhouse. You know how I feel about that whole thing. Pretend we don't have a memory of a goldfish, WWE. But funny enough, they do show us a clip of what happened last week with Roxy and Liv costing Raquel her title shot. But getting back to the promo at hand here, Daddy Dom, being the true gentleman he is, gives Liv some roses and chocolates. And Liv goes on to say that she's put both Vicare and Cargill on notice last week. Vicare makes quite an entrance here, enough pyro to make Dom jump quickly, and she comes down to the ring and tells Liv a few words in Spanish. Dom won't translate because he doesn't like the message, but does respond on behalf of Liv. But Vicare simply responds that he's a little bitch. Some more words are exchanged, but ends with Vicare slapping Dom for his troubles after Vicare says she hopes Liv chooses her so she can kick her ass at Mania. I thought this was a ton of fun. In this segment here is just something a bit different with two Spanish-speaking talents here in Stephanie and Dom. I'm always a big fan of the promos in a language the talent is more comfortable in, not necessarily Dom, obviously, but Vicare, who obviously feels much more natural, and you can tell she's more confident when she is able to speak in Spanish. And they translated the important parts for us, so that's all that really matters. And I think we would have kind of got the idea of it, in the grand scheme of things, anyways. But thought this was fun, different, and worked to. Seems like Liv is going to prolong her choice, but I'm still quite convinced that it will be Vicare in the end. It does end the photos that have been uploaded to this point at recording, but we will go ahead and continue on with our recap. The next match of the night has Ivy Nile going up against Lyra Valkyria and half of the women's tag team champions and that of Rhea Ripley for the second women's elimination chamber qualifier. And this was an extremely fast-paced match and some very unique situations each woman was put into here. You could maybe argue that they did a little too much and maybe made this match a little more complicated than they needed to. But regardless, this was a fun contest, and although I don't know if I love the ending, the end result here, putting someone that already has gold in elimination chamber won't be the first time, won't be the last, obviously. But you could definitely make the argument, regardless, that Rhea does end up getting the win here after landing a riptide and getting the pin over Lyra here. Mommy will now join Tiffany Stratton in the elimination chamber just 2 weeks from this Saturday. We then see Michael Cole in the center of the ring talking about CM Punk, but is quickly interrupted by Finn Balor, who says he's tired of being an afterthought. We see a bit of that in the clubhouse before this as well. And he's not going to lie down and let Roman slide in for that easy kill, as he's already taken a bit of wind out of CM Punk's sails, or so he claims. Finn says he beat him on his home turf. Punk beat him on his home turf, but he wants an opportunity to return the favor at Chicago at the Elimination Chamber. Unfortunately, Adam Pearce comes out in an attempt to stop the madness, but Punk quickly enters the fray as well. Finn runs out of the ring and says not tonight in his hometown and for that World Heavyweight title. Initially, Pearce says no, but Punk says it's his title and he deserves a say. And at last, the match is finally made official. Sign me up, although it does feel very much like filler. I'll never complain about getting Finn some time in the main event scene. After this, we proceed with that interview of Punk. Cole asks him simply, "What are you doing and why are you risking your Mania slot?" Punk goes on to say he's a fighting champ and he'll continue to come out and prove he's the best in the world. So essentially, this is what we're going to see until Roman comes back, and kind of what KP and I have been talking about in our kind of build to this scene, and also mentioned today in our If We're Being Honest episode. So miss you, Roman. See you soon. Whenever it's convenient, I guess. Never a big fan of the part-time stuff, but if this is what we're getting as filler, like I said, sign me up. And another great bit from Punk here. Obviously he's great at cutting promos. We'll see how he is kind of carrying that feud on its own, maybe with some assistance from Finn Balor. Our next match of the evening has Natty going up against Maxine Dupree, obviously with lots of bad blood here. This is a very hard-hitting, brutal, but very short match due to a countout, I think. Natty ends up getting a sharpshooter locked on Maxine on the announce table. AJ Lee comes out to assist Maxine, who AJ Lee did say earlier she was here to support in the first place. Natty flees the scene, although I don't think she really needed to. I think Natty doesn't really strike me as the character who should be fleeing the scene, but regardless, AJ helps Maxine to get to the back, but then Becky Lynch comes out, takes out AJ, who was clearly not over the happenings earlier in the night between the two. That set up the women's IC title match at Elimination Chamber. And I don't know where this Maxine and Natty story is going, because Natty is such a cool character, and I'm not sure she really is going to be booed, at least how I think WWE wants her to be. Maxine's still obviously very green, and Natty is just such a refreshing change to her character. So I think they kind of put themselves in a tough situation there. But regardless, all four of these women obviously in the IC scene, so maybe we'll kind of see where that's going. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. We then get our next match of the evening, which has Rio and Bravo of Los Americanos going up against Javon Evans and a surprise partner, at least announced that way earlier in the night. And this is revealed to be the OG El Grande Americano. This match was a ton of fun, and although the spot was a bit spoiled by the cameraman, just a second before we see Javon sitting up on an opposite turnbuckle, makes one of the coolest OG cutters I think you'll ever see by Javon Evans on Bravo, which the OG Grande Americano capitalizes with a flying headbutt to get the win for him and Javon Evans. After the match, however, El Grande Americano, the new one, or current one, if you will, tries to ambush Javon and OG El Grande, but is spoiled as the new El Grande is almost unmasked, but escapes for now. But yeah, what a match. Ton of fun. All four members here really getting in their own. Um, in my head, just give us OG El Grande versus current El Grande, make it happen. I think it's a Mania worthy match. I'd love to see it, and I think could be a ton of fun and unlimited amounts of ways you really could take that. We then get into our main event, which has Penta going up against Austin Theory, going up against LA Knight in the second men's Elimination Chamber qualifier match. And just a reminder that threats were exchanged earlier between Adam Pearce and Paul Heyman and the Vision. So perhaps that story I was upset about earlier maybe it isn't quite over, even with the unfortunate absence of Braun Breaker. And speaking of the Vision, lots of Paul Heyman can be heard during this match, especially during the beginning part of it, as he is sitting right next to the commentary table. Bit of translation from Graves and Corey, but that kind of falls off there towards the beginning, the middle and end there. All three guys getting a chance to shine here, but the ending is very interesting. Comes when it looks like LA Knight is ready to get the win, but Bronson and Logan Paul do come down to the ring despite those earlier warnings and try to help Theory. But Bronson hits a tsunami as Pearce and security come down to ban the Vision from ringside, but it looks like it's about to be too late. In the meantime, Theory looks like he's going to get the win, but Penta pulls Theory out of the ring as he has the cover. Penta then ends up getting thrown over the announce table. And then once again, that masked figure, the same one that cost Braun Breaker the Rumble, hits Theory with the curb stomp, throws him back in the ring. LA Knight capitalizes with a BFT and gets the victory and will join Randy Orton at the Elimination Chamber. So, yeah, ton of fun here. I thought this episode of Raw was very good, which, tons of good matches, some good storytelling here as the road to Elimination Chamber becomes a little more clear. A much better episode, at least for me, compared to last week. Last week was very story heavy, but I felt like it was very much lacking on the action. The action here very heavy tonight, and tons of unique storylines. I quite enjoyed this one. 8.5 out of 10 for me. I really enjoyed this episode of Raw. But enough from us here at The Push. What did you make of this episode of Raw? Highlights, maybe things you didn't like, things you felt like they could have done better. Please let us know in the comments below. And as always, we'll be back shortly with that NXT SmackDown recap and are continuing to work on that WrestleMania series. So look out for that next episode coming soon. But until next time, this has been The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you soon. Take care.